I took these shafts, these are the spreaders here, the main shafts, and then this is the shaft here that the depth pivots on here, and then this is the worm gear, worm drive for the tilt mechanism. And I took those up to the lathe and polished those up as much as I could. I didn't turn them down or anything, I just polished them up. Well, this thing isn't made very well. This looks like just a piece of pipe thread almost. Just slid over the top of this, and it's not anywhere close to being concentric. But it works, so that's what it's going to be. I'm not going to rebuild it. So anyway, the worm cleaned up pretty good, and the shaft cleaned up, and this is the main part right here where it pivots. And then this one is the main pivot pin, like I said, that the depth, the saw blade depth pivots on. And just for grins and giggles, I dug out some bushings, and I made up some bushings here that fit those. Probably if I'm going to use them, I'll need to turn the flanges off of these. And on this one winds up being pretty thick. It would go in here, and I don't have a whole lot of material in there to take out if I was going to put that bushing in there, so I'll probably be better off not doing that. I don't know, it'd sure be nice to have something in there that would turn on. It would be a lot smoother than that raw cast iron. This thing spins on there so nice. And then this one is not such a big deal. This one fits in here, and those, I got enough meat in those. I could turn these down a little bit more, but I could bore those holes out, or ream those holes out so that these would fit in there. Yeah, I've got mandrels up there. I'll see what I can do about turning those down a little bit more, and I definitely want to put them in here, but it'd be nice to have them in these too. It would be a whole lot smoother. And this one here, this one's got plenty of meat in it, if I can get that apart. So it's getting late now. I think I'm done for the day, but I gotta work on getting this pinion gear off of this shaft, and then I can clean this shaft up. Okay, well, that's it for tonight. It's almost 7 o'clock. Man, this raining 8 days a week, 5 weeks a month is getting old. It's actually cooling off quite a bit. We're in September now, and you can really tell the winter's coming, because it's cooled off enough now. I'm going to have to go put a flannel shirt on instead of this lightweight shirt that I've been wearing. Actually, for a long time it was just t-shirt, and then we got to a shirt on top of that, and but it's cooled off quite a bit. Supposed to be nice tomorrow, and I got called today to go flying tomorrow if it does turn off to be nice, so that's a good thing. But it's getting old, but at least I got a dry place to work. So I took these tie rods, or tie bars, tie rods I think they call them, up to put them on the lathe and polished them up yesterday, knocked the rust and stuff off them. It had paint on them, that came off. And then this shaft here that, what do they call that thing? Anyway, the blade raises up and down on the, what's it got? Trunnion. The trunnion, one trunnion raises up and down on. I got polished that up. And then this one shaft, this is for the adjusting the angle, the blade angle. I got it cleaned up pretty good. And then this one was stuck in this trunnion here, and we couldn't get it out because the pinion gear was on the end of it and it wouldn't come off the shaft. I tried heating it up, and that didn't work. Well, what I wound up doing was I took it over to the shop and put it in the vise, and then I heated this up, and I kept heating it and cooling it, and I put a little paraffin on it, because a lot of times paraffin will slide down in. As it melts, it goes down in, and it'll lubricate a stuck shaft or something so you can get it to come off. So anyway, I did that, and I wound up grabbing a hold of these with a pair of channel locks, or like channel locks, but I just grabbed them lightly so I didn't want to burr up these teeth any at all in this gear. And then I just started twisting it, and I finally got it twisting and finally got it to move, to come off. And so then the idea now is to take this up to the lathe and polish it up, and I thought I was done with these two pieces. But I got to downloading the manual, and I got to looking at the manual. There's the parts list there. That shows it. I didn't really pay too much attention to it, but I got to this one spot in here in the manual where it talks about adjusting for the wear of the tilt and raising adjustment mechanisms. And what the deal is, as these pinions and racks wear, you can adjust the pinions so they stay tight. And that's, looking at this, I could look at this and I could see, man, that's a lousy job they did on this. That's not concentric at all. As you turn that, it just moves up and down. And I noticed that in here, in this trunnion, when I was turning this, trying to get it to move and getting it to turn, that it would engage and then kind of get lightly engaged in the rack, the pinion would. So anyway, that's how you adjust the engagement of these pinions in the racks, is that this is concentric, this is off center a little bit, and that's how you adjust for that, is as the wear happens, then you can turn this concentric just a little bit so you get more engagement in there. So what that means is that this piece here does not turn in the trunnions or in the pieces like I originally thought. I was talking about making a bushing for them, how bad they turned in there. They're not supposed to turn in there on their own. This shaft is supposed to turn inside of this sleeve, and they don't. They're froze in there. So I took this one when I figured that out, and this has supposed to be, I don't know, maybe it's all one piece there, I don't know. It's supposed to be two pieces according to the parts manual here. Let's see if we can see it on here. There we go. So, oh, that shows it as one piece. Well, anyway, this piece here that's drilled out of a hex, made out of a hex, and it's turned down here for where it goes into the trunnion. This whole sleeve here is supposed to be loose, and this shaft is supposed to turn inside of that. And it's the same with this one. This shaft is supposed to turn inside this sleeve here. So we got to figure something out about that, I guess. Either fix these or get new ones. I'm not sure which. I'm going to try to see if I can get these loosened up. And I've already started on this one by taking and putting it in the vise. That's what the paraffin is all about. Is I had this sticking in the vise and was heating this up, this sleeve up, and then I was just melting paraffin, or putting paraffin on it to try to let it get sucked down in there to loosen that up. That's why I got paraffin all over everything here. I guess I got to still work on those a little bit. I'm going to take these tie rods and wash those down with some acetone and paint those, so we get those coated so they don't rust any worse. Get those taken care of, and then I'll take these back up to the lathe and work on this a little bit to polish it up and get this shaft polish up, so that if I do get this thing moving, it'll slide down off of there. I don't know. I'm looking on eBay and I can find the pieces for that. New, this doggone shaft is $80. I think there's a place that has it advertised as new, and it's 80 some bucks. I think eBay had one of these shafts on there for just the shaft for 50 some dollars, but I can buy the whole setup for about 50 bucks used. So I got to figure out what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to get those loosened up and working first before I do anything else. But first off, I guess I'll go paint these. So these, anyway, these two don't need bushings in them. They're supposed to run through these sleeves on here. And but this, I'm still thinking about putting the bushings on that. So we'll find my acetone in my gloves and clean those pieces off, and go find some paint and get it shook up. It's cold in here, so the paint's going to be pretty stiff. Well, I got the sleeves off these shafts. The hardest one, of course, was this one here for the height adjustment, because this sleeve on here is probably about 4 inches long, and it was on there like that, so it was rusted on there pretty good. This one for the angle adjustment, it was not much different. It didn't go near as far on there, but it was still not easy to get off. I had to take the pinion gear off of both of them. I did the one for the height adjustment yesterday, because it's a heck of a lot easier to take that sleeve off this way than it would be to go all the way down this way. Well, anyway, what I did was I took both of these shafts with the sleeves on them back up to the lathe again and polished everything up on them really good, the ends and whatnot. And I came down and heated this one up. I put it, actually what I did is these are 3/8 inch shafts, 3/8 inch in diameter. So I got a 3/8 inch 5C collet and a square collet block, and I put this in the collet, tightened it up real tight, and put it in the vise. And then I could take a wrench on the flats on this sleeve and turn it, but it was turning the whole thing in there, so I took the torch and I heated this up pretty hot, and while I was heating it, then I just put the wrench on there and just started rocking it back and forth just gently. It heated up, and I tipped it up on the edge like this and put a little paraffin on there so the paraffin could run down in there. And then I just kept heating it up and just kept rocking it back and forth until I got it to break loose, and even then it was pretty tight. But I finally got it to break loose. It would spin part way around, but not all the way, and I just kept working it until I got it to spin. And then I put a pair of channel locks on the flats here and started pulling on it while I was spinning it, and I got it to come off. So I've taken this up now and polished it up really good. I need to do the same thing with the sleeve. I need to polish up the inside of it. I'll probably take a reamer and run down through there and then figure out some way to get something down in there to polish that out. And the same thing with this sleeve. I'll have to do that with that sleeve. And of course the pinion gears. So these things are supposed to spin. Well, I've got that polished up now, so it spins really pretty good inside that sleeve and not inside the trunnion here. So that once I get these cleaned up, then this goes in the trunnion and get locked in, and I won't need those bushings for that at all, because that it doesn't turn in there, it turns in that sleeve. So I'll get these polished up real good, and then I'll coat all that with the molybdenum disulfate like I used on the jointer. Put it all back together and it should work. Now I don't have to buy new ones. I had them lined up on eBay where I could have ordered them, but of course it would have taken 2 weeks to get anything there. So yeah, that's good. So anyway, I just get these cleaned up inside, the pinion gears, and all these little stop collars there, they were rusted on there too. Not as bad as these sleeves, but I think I'm still going to go ahead and take this trunnion here with the Arbor on it. And this is the one that pivots, and this is the rack for that. I think I'm going to go ahead and set up and put these bushings in there. These pivot in there. It'd be a lot nicer if they pivoted on these bushings instead. So I think I'm going to do that. I'll probably turn these down just a little bit. They're pretty close to the right length. I take that flange off there, but I'm going to turn them down a little bit and then ream those holes out. Anyway, there's still some cleanup work to do on this, but better than it was. Wife had to work today, so I think we still got soup. She made soup a few days ago, and I think we still got soup for dinner tonight. Let's see if we got it warmed up yet. If not, I'll go put it on. Man, you'd have never thought these were anything other than just one piece with the way they were. But I got them apart, got them all cleaned up, and now these things spin pretty good inside of there. And now the eccentric portion of this will work to adjust the mesh for the gears between the pinion here and the rack. Well, I just took these pieces over to the shop and cleaned them up on the wire wheel. I stuck a wire brush in the drill press, a long one, and run down through here and got those cleaned out, polished out pretty good. Same with these pinion gears. Well, I just got these shafts back together with the pinion gears on them, and they were a little bit loose on there after everything got cleaned up, so I took a little bit of Loctite 680 and put on those and washed them off. Washed everything off real good with acetone, and then cleaned the excess 680 off of them with acetone. So those are ready to go back together. That's a whole lot nicer. That spins pretty good on there. So we had a good day. It turned out to be a decent day today. It didn't rain. The wind let up. And I went flying for a couple hours today, looking for some end of the season chum salmon, and tried to go down, and we saw a few of those. And then we tried to go down and do some of the streams that we had missed, hadn't got good counts on because of the weather. The streams are still really high from all of the rain. The streams and the lakes are really high from all the rain, so we couldn't really see anything. So I'm gonna wait for another day or two to let the water levels go down and then go check them again. But season's about over for me. We did see some sandhill cranes today. I think the first of them coming through, so that means summer's over. Well, it's time to go have dinner now. I've been working on these for a little while, and those will be ready to go back together now. I got to work on the trunnions yet, the cast iron pieces, and polish those up a little bit and do a little bit more work to those, and then I can start putting this thing back together. But this is ready to go back together now. I'll spray these down with some molybdenum disulfate for lubricant. Again, that doesn't attract dust and dirt and stuff. It dries on pretty good, so that should keep these from rusting anymore and keep a good slippery in there for them. Anyway, that's good. Like I said, you'd never believe that those were more than one piece here a couple days ago. But there they are, all working again.